What's up, gang? It's your scaly host King Rex here, with the next part of the Nightriders zombie adventure. Here we will join our now worn-out rock heroes as they continue their long climb up Capitol Tower. Unfortunately for them, the elevator's still out of order. But fortunately for us, it makes the story more epic and builds towards a better climax. And unlike our tired heroes, you get to sit back and put your feet up and relax for part 8 of Nightriders Battle of the Band. Enjoy!
What floor do you think we're on? Lonnie asked in between pants.
I've lost count.
Axel felt the toll of the climb on his feet. His back was sore from carrying his guitar, and with every step he took, the guitar seemed heavier.
I'm just glad we haven't run into any of those warlock creeps,
Rolf said. I wouldn't be so sure about that, Lonnie said.
What do you mean?
Rolf asked.
How does an elevator just break like that?
Lonnie pondered, raising his voice. Rolf rolled his eyes. The cables went out?
Come on, guys! Cables don't just break like that. Well, those obviously did, so forget it, ordered Rolf.
Are you kidding me? Lonnie shouted. Rolf sighed.
Well, I guess now I know why the Lion in the Lizard of Oz was the coward of the movie.
What? Now wait a second. Wasn't it you who didn't want to use the elevator in the first place because of the warlock madness?
Warlocks or not, we're going to do this,
interjected Axel, trying to sound confident.
Yes, we are, Lizard,
Rolf agreed as he gave Axel a pat on his back.
Yes, we are.
We made it, Axel said, panting as he, Rolf, and Lonnie crawled the final steps of the mountainous stairwell. As he looked up, he saw a dusty black wooden door covered in cobwebs. The door at first felt as though it did not want to open, but after leaning his weight into it, he managed to pop it free. The door let out a deafening shriek as it slowly moved on its old hinges.
Find the light switch,
Rolf ordered.
I don't like not being able to see if someone is hiding in the dark.
Axel blindly searched for the switch on the wall, and accidentally knocked over what felt like a stack of tin containers. The clanking of tin against the floor echoed throughout the room.
You're so stealthy, Axel,
Rolf muttered.
Found it,
Axel announced as he flipped on the light switch. The room lit up, revealing what appeared to be a dust-filled, neglected storage room. Piles of boxes were scattered throughout the room, as well as office desks and chairs that had seen better days.
You sure those professors weren't full of crap?
Rolf asked as he eyed the junk-filled room. Axel flicked his tongue as he scanned the room, eventually noticing an old rusty metal stairway, appearing to lead to the roof.
No, but they did say the speakers were on top of the building. After that long climb, I don't intend to leave until I've seen it for myself. Greetings, mortals,
a familiar raspy voice said. The lights flickered, and the room plunged into darkness.
Oh, not him,
Lonnie groaned. Axel recognized that voice. The voice of Warlock's lead singer, Heathen. His cold blood ran colder.
You have done well, mortals, Heathen said. Your persistence is impressive. The three of you are survivors indeed.
Axel, Rolf, and Lonnie struggled to unharness their instruments in the dark. From out of nowhere, a red light began to glow in front of them and revealed Heathen in all his glory. He was wearing the same attire he was wearing on stage, still dressed as though he were an ancient barbarian, complete with a horned helmet and skulls on his armor shoulder pads. His long dark cape fluttered as though some unknown draft blew through the room. His devilish, red glowing eyes glared in their direction. grasped in his right hand was the same staff with a skull on the end that he was seeing wielding on stage.
We know what you're up to. We know what you've done to all those people. Why are you doing this?
Axel asked as he assumed a batter's stance with his guitar. He then responded with a chilling laugh.
You find something funny, Conan?
Rolf growled.
Just your stupidity and ignorance,
He then answered.
What the heck are you talking about?
Axel was annoyed and impatient from the demeaning remarks.
I'm talking about karma,
answered Heathen.
You know, the concept of individuals receiving what's coming to them.
Observing the dialogue between Heathen and Rolf, Axel felt as though there was something more at play than just the ramblings of a misguided madman. He couldn't place his finger on it, but there was something in Heathen's gaze which communicated a hatred on more of a personal level, as though the situation was limited to just the four of them in the room. Regardless of whether this was only his mind projecting on the situation, he knew in that moment that he had never met a person in his life who personified hate to the level of the barbaric canine standing before him.
Listen, bub, you have one chance to explain yourself and step aside, so I suggest you stop speaking in riddles,
shouted Rolf.
You are in no position to threaten me, Rolf,
he then snarled.
You are nothing but a pathetic excuse of life, as are the people you call friends whom you so enjoy exploiting.
Axel and Lonnie's eyes widened in surprise at hearing the use of Rolf's name. Rolf growled and gritted his teeth, enraged for the demeaning reply.
Why, you walking gimmick! I oughta...
Rolf stopped in mid-sentence, as the realization that Heathen had used his name dawned on him.
Wait a second. How do you... Prepare to meet your doom, Rolf!
Heathen roared, raising his fist in the air.
Karma this!
Rolf shouted before unexpectedly charging toward Heathen with his fist raised. But before Rolf had a chance, a smoky vapor shot from Heathen's studded wristbands and released an extremely foul scent. Axel felt lightheaded and took a step forward, but he couldn't keep his eyes focused.
What have you done?
He asked weakly and took another step forward. His guitar slipped from his hands. He collapsed, and his world turned black as his consciousness left him.
Wakey, wakey,
Heathen sang in a creepy voice. Rolf and Lonnie were bound as well, with Rolf on Axel's right side and Lonnie on his left. Heathen was standing in front of them, holding a gothic-looking staff with what appeared to be the skull of a goat on top. He was accompanied by at least a dozen of his hooded followers. Some appeared to have swords sheathed on the sides of their cloaks, while others were holding guitar cases.
You gassed us!
Axel shouted in anger. He then chuckled as he picked up Axel's red guitar.
This is a beautiful music maker you have, Axel.
Axel struggled in the chair, but his wrists were tightly bound.
Simmer down, my long-tongued friend,
he then said with a menacing grin.
I have no desire to destroy this beauty.
He then handed Axel's guitar to one of his followers, who then leaned it against a pile of boxes across the room. Leaning next to it was Rolf's blue guitar and Lonnie's backpack that contained his symbols.
Once I get my hands on you, I'm gonna beat you to a pulp,
Rolf threatened. He then chuckled.
Rolf, it's been far too long, my friend.
Rolf returned another puzzled expression.
Don't you remember me?
Rolf snorted.
You're crazy. I've never seen you before until your stupid concert aired on television. Perhaps this will help,
he then said before slowly removing his helmet. The Nightriders gasped an instant recognition of the canine's face underneath. Rolf's jaw dropped open.
Mac?
"Hello, my former bandmates," the coyote sang. Although Axel had never met Mac in person, he instantly recognized the brown furry face of Mac Manson, the former lead vocalist of the Nightriders. With the helmet off, the mysterious red glow of his eyes had dissipated, revealing his natural brown eyes. "What are you doing, Mac?" Lonnie shouted, appearing equally as shocked and confused. "Hello, Lonnie. Still living as one of Rolf's slaves?"
Mac, untie me right now or you're gonna regret it!
Rolf threatened. Mac laughed, and then his hooded warlock followers laughed as well. "Sorry, old friend, but you're not in control anymore." Rolf's face burned red as sweat began to form on his furry face.
You really think you can intimidate me, punk?
Mac nodded as he studied Rolf's face. "Yes, Rolf, I do. And I intend to do much more than that." With the helmet off, it felt as though they were conversing with a person, rather than the hell-bent evil persona of Heathen. It was not a person who merely took pleasure in the sufferings of others. Instead, all Axel could see right now was a broken man who had let bitterness and anger get the best of him. Axel stared at the gray metallic horned helmet that Mac grasped in his hands. Now that he was up close, he was able to make out what appeared to be small hieroglyphic writings in an unrecognizable language.
You're finding this all so amusing, aren't you, Mac?
Rolf scoffed. Ignoring Rolf, Mac returned his attention to Axel.
So, Axel,
you're Rolf's new minion, I take it?
I'm the new vocalist for the Nightriders,
Axel answered sternly. He resented the demeaning remark.
I filled the position you left behind.
A decision I do not regret, Mac said. Rolf was a hot-headed, authoritarian idiot. Impossible to work with. He had nothing to do with the success of the band. Rolf let out a loud snort.
Is that so, Mac? Then how do you explain the failure you've been in the industry since leaving my band?
As Axel listened to the two bicker, he looked over at Lonnie, who shook his head in disappointment. Axel couldn't care less about the who's more talented debate. His only concern now was how they were going to find a way out of this mess.
So how the heck did you go from rockstar to a voodoo practicing warlock?
Axel interjected, hoping to break the conversation. With a sinister smile, Mac turned his attention to Axel. I suppose we have time for a little bedtime story? Once upon a time, I was living the dream as the face of a heavy metal band during the height of its success. I had the money, the fame, the job I had always dreamed of. Heck, I even had the women. Yes, my scaly friend, I had it all. And this story would have had a happy ending if it wasn't for some scruffy, hot-headed, narcissistic, stupid wolf.
If only I wasn't tied to this chair,
Rolf seethed. Unfazed by Rolf's remark, Mac continued. Rolf was impossible to work with. And if you haven't figured that out by now, you will soon. He took complete credit for the success of the band, and he'd blame me for everything that went wrong. Not only that, Rolf was a soulless slave driver. We'd tour and rehearse until my vocal cords were practically shot. Oh, and the constant demeaning insults never stopped. Mac, you're lazy. Mac, you're an idiot. If it wasn't for me, Mac, you'd be singing karaoke in a rundown bar. So the time came when I had enough and left. Yes, I had a bad run of luck after leaving the band. And you know what? It didn't help that Rolf took full advantage of the situation and blamed me for the fallout. And that is what butchered my chances of ever having a career in music as Mac Manson, because I would always be seen as the one who betrayed the Nightriders. After taking a moment to catch his breath, Mac pointed with his finger at Rolf and Lonnie. I was used, abused, and left out in the cold by the only two people I ever thought of as remotely my friends. Axel looked over at Rolf, who somehow appeared to be untouched by the news, but could see feelings of guilt and regret in the sullen expression of Lonnie.
Gosh, Mac, I'm so sorry,
quavered Lonnie. Mac threw his head back and howled like the coyote he was. Anyways, it was at that point in my failed career that I figured the only chance I had was to start from scratch. I could never be successful as Mac Manson. It was then I began to pursue a new stage name and a persona. At this time I had become very intrigued with the legends of the Booga Empire and the music of old, and I was eventually approached by someone who, for the first time in my life, offered me sympathy. This man took me under his wing, teaching me the secrets within the music of this once great civilization. Mac glared at Axel. He introduced me to a whole new world, where you can control people with music, gifting me with this ancient Booga unmasked artifact, which endows me with the ability to control the effects of sound waves.
Controlling people's minds with music is so not metal,
Axel shouted. I'm afraid I have to disagree with you, my scaly green friend, replied Mac. He then slammed the end of his skull staff on the floor. The room became silent as Mac brought out a handkerchief to wipe his face. A snicker escaped from the mouth of Rolf. Find something funny, old buddy? Mac asked, scowling.
You mean to tell me that you did all this to get back at me for hurting your feelings?
Mac stepped toward Rolf until their faces were inches apart. No, but this is... Mac swung and punched Rolf in the face, then spit on him.
Come on, Mac, pleaded Lonnie. Let it go. Please don't kill Rolf.
Mac burst into laughter. Still a wuss, I see, huh, Lon? Axel could not believe his eyes as Lonnie's face turned red with anger.
Maybe so,
growled Lonnie.
But right now you have awakened the lion in me, and I feel like tearing you to pieces.
Mac chuckled. I guess I have, Lon. I never knew you had it in you. The evil smile returned to Mac's face. But it's gonna take more than words to get you out of this one. One of Mac's followers stepped forward and whispered something into his ear. My, the time sure does fly when you're reminiscing, doesn't it? I'm afraid the time has come for me to finish what I started.
Enough of this bullcrap, Mac! Let us go!
Rolf frantically yelled. Worry now replaced the smug expression on his face. Mac shook his head. You still don't get it, do you, Rolf? This is about so much more than you and me.
You've lost your mind,
shouted Rolf. Perhaps, but if that's the case, you have yourself to thank for that. By using these marvelous speakers built by the Sharps, we will blast the music throughout the entire city, turning any remaining inhabitants into monsters, including you three. There won't be any more jerks like you taking advantage of others, because you will all be on the same plane as beasts. Don't you see, Rolf? I'm bringing order through music. Ah, yes, it will be a concert to remember.
You crazy coyote!
Rolf shouted.
Come on, Mac. Think about what you're doing.
Axel chimed in, breaking his silence.
Believe me, I totally get it. Rolf pushed you over the edge and drove you crazy. There's been plenty of times Rolf has driven me to the point of psychopathic thoughts. He's one of the most heartless, egotistical wolves I have ever met. But you can't let that get to you.
Mac snorted. That's the understatement of the century. Enough talk. It's time for me to leave you now. Sorry for you to have become a victim in all of this, Axel. You seem like a decent guy. Mac returned the helmet to his head, causing his eyes to once again glow eerily red. Immediately, Axel felt the same devilish aura return to Mac that he had felt earlier. At this very moment, he knew they were once again in the full presence of heathen. Mac turned his back and walked toward the rusty staircase on the other side of the room.
I'll remember that,
Rolf grumbled in Axel's ear. Before climbing the stairs, Mac turned around and gave Axel a wave.
Maybe in another lifetime, Meixsell.
Mac! Axel shouted, trying to regain his attention as he listened to his footsteps climb the stairway. Mac, listen to me. I think the helmet is doing something to you. You have to take it off. The only response Axel received was the evil cackling of heathen echoing from above. Mac exited the room along with most of his hooded followers. However, 3 of them remained to ensure that Axel, Rolf, and Lonnie did not escape. Axel looked over to see a defeated Rolf depressingly drooping his head with his eyes closed, while Lonnie appeared to be in a trance as he stared at the floor. The situation was grim, but Axel knew his one last hope was with the switchblade hidden in the sleeve of his leather jacket. He snuck a glance at their hooded captors, who appeared to be preoccupied with their instruments. They were gently strumming the strings while messing with the tuning. It pained Axel to see the grubby hands touching his guitar, but it was a needed distraction. Axel began working his wrists against the switchblade, slowly edging it out of the hidden pouch in his sleeve. Knowing time was against him, Axel found the process of getting the switchblade into his right hand long and frustrating. Occasionally, their captors would glance their way, and Axel would have to seize his movement. Despite his success in eluding the attention of their captors, he could tell that both Rolf and Lonnie were aware that he was up to something. Axel could see the curiosity in Rolf's eyes, despite his best efforts to avoid attention. Lonnie's expression, on the other hand, hinted of caution and concern. After persistently working it for minutes, Axel could now feel the case of the blade near the edge of his sleeve.
Take it easy, Axel,
he scolded himself, knowing that if his blade were to drop to the floor, their one chance to escape would be lost. Axel was relieved when he finally felt the switchblade slip into his hand. He looked over once again at the captors, but they were distracted with their instruments.
Good thing they're lousy guards,
Axel thought. He then ejected the blade and began slowly cutting through the ropes. It was not easy, and his forearms burned and he got cramps in his hands, but he was finally able to cut the rope and free his hands.
Hey you! Lizard!
Axel looked up to see one of the guards approaching him with a stern expression.
Huh?
Axel asked, trying to appear confused.
Don't play dumb with me, lizard! I can tell you're hiding something behind your back!
The guard picked up a club.
Trying to free your hands, are we?
I wish, Axel said, feeling visibly nervous with the presence of the approaching clubbed guards. The suspicious guard struck Axel on the head. Pain blinded him for a moment. His head throbbed.
Let that teach you not to lie,
the guard threatened. Despite his aching head, Axel returned a mocking smile.
Whatever you say, you cosplaying dork.
Axel! Lonnie shouted in response to Axel's reckless attitude. The guard raised his club to strike Axel.
Why, you smelly, scaly, fork-tongued freak!
But before the guard knew what happened, Axel had managed to wrap his long tail around his left leg and knock him off balance. The guard fell to the floor with a crash. Axel jumped to his feet and took on the other 2 guards. He punched one in the face, and then sidekicked the other guard in the abdomen, sending him falling backward. The guard Axel had knocked over with his tail grabbed him from behind and crossed his right arm over Axel's neck, choking him.
Tell me, lizard, the guard sneered. Can changing to Gecko really save me 15% or more on car insurance?
Black spots filled Axel's vision as he was losing oxygen. Quickly, he jabbed his elbow into the guard's kidney and was able to break free from his hold. In one final blow, he punched the guard in the head.
You guitar-wielding lizards know how to fight?
Axel said proudly. Flicking his forked tongue, Axel bent over to pick up his switchblade and noticed another one of the Warlock's followers was standing near the stairwell door, slack-jawed and stunned, with fear at the sight of the unconscious bodies lying about. Axel ejected his switchblade and held it out defensively in front of himself.
Come and get some,
Axel taunted, flicking his tongue, still panting from his previous scuffle. Without a word, the guard dashed out of the room.
That was amazing, Axel,
Lonnie cheered.
Something tells me you were taking it easy on me earlier,
Rolf said, still bug-eyed and shocked from the brawl.
Where the heck did you learn to fight like that, Axel?
Home, Axel answered. Quickly, he cut the rope around Rolf and Lonnie's wrists and freed them.
There's a lot more to you than meets the eye,
Lonnie mused as he rubbed his raw wrists.
Still feeling the lion, Lon?
Axel asked, while slipping his switchblade into his side pocket.
Not like before, but I guess it'll have to do,
Lonnie answered. Axel felt Rolf's furry hand pat his shoulder.
You've got something to say?
He turned around and faced him.
Actually, I do,
Rolf said in a low voice, appearing hesitant to speak what was on his mind. He scratched the back of his neck.
I just wanted to say I'm really sorry about earlier. I owe you one, Axel.
Axel handed Rolf his blue electric guitar.
Yeah, well, if it makes you feel any better, just consider it payback for helping me after my little tumble in the street. To be honest, Rolf, I didn't know you had that side to you.
Rolf returned a half smile.
Hey, I'm not completely heartless.
Axel held out his hand.
Band bros?
Rolf slapped his hand onto Axel's and grinned.
Band bros! Band bros!
Repeated Lonnie as he placed his hand on top of Axel and Rolf's handshake. It was the first time since Axel joined the band that he truly felt they were a unit.
Now let's kick some warlock butt, Axel shouted.
He kicked open the door to the roof with his foot, and the Nightriders emerged into the unknown together.
Wait a minute. Mac Manson is heathen? Well, who could have seen that coming? Oh, right. King Rex, the master storyteller, that's who. Now that they've reached the top, it all comes to a head now. So come back for part 9 to witness the climax of this rocket adventure. Until next time, this is King Rex signing out.
I think I'm gonna play some Sonic Adventure on my Dreamcast. That was fun.